How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? I'm here with Derrick Henry today. As you can see, seatbelt in place, and we're going on a trip. Where the fuck you going? First things first, we want to congratulate Derrick Henry on 2,000 yards. We'll say that again. 2,000 yards, boy! 2,000! Taking a trip to the playoffs. We ain't going very far, so we're coming right back home next week because we have no defense. So it'd be nice to have a home game, but we'll be coming right back home. But Derrick, what are you going to do next week? He said on Saturday he's feeling 300, anywhere between 300 yards on the ground and 700. Boy, you built different. You built different. NFL Week 17 full review. Nick, where the hell you been? Doesn't matter, and you don't care. Stay right here.
Some time since I sat my ass in this chair. How are you? Guess who's back? Not only is he back, he's back just in time for the playoffs. And we're going to talk about the NFL Week 17 full review. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the entire final week of the season because there was a lot of playoff implications, a lot of mistakes, and a lot of things that were just downright ugly. The playoffs are set in the NFL. Now, we are not going to talk about that in this video, just based on the pure fact that the playoffs is going to be something that we're going to talk about later in the week. We'll do our previews. We will mention some of the playoff matchups going in, but we will not preview the games on either side. We will not make any mention. This strictly is a review of the final week of the season. Some of these games meant absolutely nothing. Some of these games couldn't have been any more important. We're going to start it off talking about the Jets and the Patriots. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about here is this game was not important. The Jets obviously surrendered their first pick, and the Jets have put themselves in a position to where they will not get Trevor Lawrence. Unless there was a trade, there will not be a trade. The Jets have put themselves in a shit position by winning 2 straight. Obviously, your goal as a NFL athlete, or just an athlete in general, is always to win. You go on the field, your goal is to win. You never want to lose a game because it makes you look not cool. The Jets and the Patriots. Sam Darnold had 266 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Perryman did catch well for the Jets, 3 receptions, 84 yards. Cam Newton, 242, 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 79 on the ground. The Patriots went right through the Jets, 28-14. It means absolutely nothing. I guess the Patriots will look at a 7-9 finish as maybe better than they thought. It is not a playoff berth for them, and it's been quite a while since the Patriots have missed the playoffs at all. You know, this is a team that comes from the dynasty of Tom Brady. This is a team that comes from the dynasty of just winning. And last year, you know, Tom Brady bounced in the first round against the Titans. Hello. And now he doesn't make the playoffs. Well, Tom Brady made the playoffs, but the Patriots don't. Cam Newton, it's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens this offseason with the Patriots and where exactly they plan to go in terms of quarterback. You know, Cam Newton did not have a very good year at all. The Patriots, you know, they managed to finish 7-9, which for a team that was very questionable going in, I don't think is terrible, but it's certainly not the Patriots' way going forward. So the Patriots get the win 28-14. Giants and Dallas, very, very, very big game. Why is it a big game? Either team wins, they advance to stage 2. Stage 2 was hoping that Philadelphia wins, because if the Giants or Cowboys won, and Philadelphia won, either one of those teams would make the playoffs. Giants and Dallas. This game was very boring to watch. The 1 o'clock slate was one of the games that I was watching just based on the sole fact that the Titans didn't come on till 4:30. We'll talk about that chaotic roller coaster in a minute. Andy Dalton had 243 yards and an interception. He rushed for 48 on the ground. Daniel Jones, 229, 2 TDs and a pick. Sterling Shepard, 8 receptions, 112 and a touchdown. The Giants would get the win at the end, 23-19 against the Cowboys. And at this point in time, they would position themselves to potentially get to a potential playoff berth, depending on what happened on the final game of Week 17, which was Sunday Night Football. We'll talk about something else as well. The end of the game resulted in Dallas driving, and it ended with a very poor throw from Andy Dalton to the end zone, which Xavier McKinney, the rookie that the Giants drafted this year, got the interception, and that would seal the deal. We go to the 4 o'clock slate of games. Actually, I don't even think this is in order because some of these games were on at 1. Some of these games were not on at 1 at all. There was more than 2 1 o'clock games, I can tell you that. Regardless of that, we'll talk about the Titans and the Texans. Man, was this a showdown. This will go down as one of the games of the year. The Titans, to clinch their playoff berth, all they had to do was get the win against Houston. They actually clinched the playoffs before Houston had before the game had taken place, thanks to the Buffalo win. The Titans, had they lost to Houston and the Colts, which eventually did win, the Titans would have been traveling to Buffalo as the number 7 seed. But instead, the Titans will now host Baltimore as the number 4 seed. Titans and Texans, man, this one was a roller coaster. Ryan Tannehill, 216 yards and a touchdown. The Titans were in control well in the first half. And later the game got, Houston was just owning. The Titans' defense was invisible. Houston was driving. They were getting touchdowns. The Titans were making mistakes. And the game resulted in being tied 38-38 late in the game. Now we're going to talk about what unfolded here. Tannehill, again, 216 and a touchdown. Derrick Henry has a monstrous performance, and he cements himself as a over 2K rusher. He had 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, the best running back in the league by a long shot. And A.J. Brown had had some good catches and a very crucial catch late in the game. He had 10 receptions, 151 yards and a touchdown. We talk about the Houston side of things. Deshaun Watson, 365, 3 TDs and a pick. And Johnson, 84 yards and a TD on the ground. And Brandon Cooks, a very good game. That should be written back here. 11 receptions, 166 and 2 touchdowns. This game was tied at 38. The Titans got the ball back with very little time to spare. A beautiful 50-plus yard pass to A.J. Brown puts the Titans right into field goal position. Backup kicker, Sam Koch, I think his name was, kicked the field goal. It bounced off of the yellow post and bounced inward. The craziest kick, and way to end it. 41-38, the Titans get the win, and they clinch the AFC South. They will host the Baltimore Ravens this Sunday at 1 o'clock. Man, this was a roller coaster. The Titans were in full control most of this game, and then the second half came, and man, the Titans' defense is going to be a problem going into the playoffs. I will tell you this right now. You can say what it is that you want, but my God almighty. Miami had a chance to make the playoffs, and they still did after they lost. I think for Miami to make the playoffs, Miami needed to win. Well, that didn't happen, but they also needed Baltimore and Indianapolis to lose, I think. I don't know the exact clinching scenario, but Buffalo took on Miami in the final week of the year, and Buffalo locked that number 2 seed, man. Whew. Oof. Tua had 361, a touchdown, and 3 picks. Awful day for Tua in terms of accuracy. Devontae Parker, 7 receptions, 116 yards. Josh Allen, 224, 3 TDs and a pick. Davis, 2 receptions, 107 yards and a touchdown. Buffalo literally blew the roof off. 56-26, they annihilate Miami. This was a close game for a while, but man, Buffalo is coming in hot. They got the number 2 seed, and they're going to be hosting the Colts this Saturday at 1 o'clock. And let me tell you something. The Kansas City better watch out, because this Buffalo team is serious. They got all the tools to be a Super Bowl team. We talk about Baltimore and Cincinnati. Baltimore clinched their playoff run. They clinched their playoff berth with a win. Cincinnati looked terrible. We'll get to Cincinnati. They have one stat line, and it's absolutely disgusting. Lamar Jackson, 113 yards, 3 TDs, and an interception. J.K. Dobbins, huge game on the ground, 160 yards and 2 TDs. And then we get to Allen for Cincinnati at quarterback, 48 yards and 2 interceptions. He will not be back next year. Baltimore annihilates Cincinnati 38-3. They clinch their playoff berth. They will travel to Nashville to take on the division AFC South winner Titans this Sunday at 1 o'clock. We talk about a game that's going to hit the repeat button. Let me get some more. Had already clinched at this point in time. That's why Ben Roethlisberger did not play, if I'm correct. Pittsburgh played Cleveland. Cleveland wanted to win. They clinched a playoff spot. Cleveland will travel to Pittsburgh. They were home in this game. Cleveland and Pittsburgh will hit the reset button next week, and they will have a Sunday night. I think it's the final game. AFC wild card. Pittsburgh will host Cleveland. Mason Rudolph started. Decent game, 315 yards, 2 TDs and a pick. Chase Claypool, 5 receptions, 101 yards and a touchdown. Mayfield, 196 and a touchdown. Chubb, 108 and a touchdown. And the Cleveland Browns get the edging win, 24-22 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. They will now travel to Pittsburgh next week. They will play the game all over again, this time in Pittsburgh. This time with all the marbles on the table. Minnesota and Detroit. Almost debated not taking notes on this because it really didn't matter whatsoever. Minnesota spazzes. Doesn't mean anything because Kirk Cousins is inconsistent. Kirk Cousins, 405 yards and 3 TDs. Madison, 95 yards and a touchdown. Jefferson, 9 receptions and 133 yards. Stafford, 293, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Marvin Jones Jr., 8 receptions, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Minnesota gets the win over Detroit 37-35. Means nothing. I don't know what Matthew Stafford's contract looks like, but it'll be another playoff-less year for Matthew Stafford, and the same goes for Kirk Cousins. Tampa Bay and Atlanta, 2 high-powered offenses. Well, Tampa Bay's been playing some good football, and they're going to make their way into the playoffs. I want to say Saturday night, the third game they will play. They will travel to the NFC East winner, Washington. Matt Ryan, 265, 2 TDs. Brady, 399, 4 TDs and a pick. Jones, 78 yards and a touchdown. And Antonio Brown with a nice game. 11 receptions, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Tampa Bay rips Atlanta 44-27 on their way to traveling to the NFC East winner, Washington. They will play the Washington football team Saturday night in Washington. Washington's got a defense, but it's probably going to be pretty ugly. But again, we'll do that preview and prediction on a different one. Green Bay and Chicago, 430-something. Green Bay locked the number 1 seed in the first round bye with a win, and they didn't have a problem. Rodgers, 240, 4 touchdowns. Trubisky, 252 and an interception. 35-16, Green Bay trounces Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears have somehow squeaked into the playoffs. They are the evening game, not the night game. The evening game on Sunday. They will travel to New Orleans. Good luck with that. Las Vegas and Denver playing for nothing. Derek Carr, 371, 2 TDs and 2 picks. Jacobs, 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. 117 and a touchdown. We get to the Denver side of things. Good stat sheet. Despite that, Vegas did get the win 32-31, but Drew Lock had 339, 2 touchdowns. Gordon, 93 and a touchdown. And Judy, great game from the rookie. 5 receptions, 140 yards and a touchdown. Neither team makes the playoffs. Sad because I really thought the Raiders were going to find a way this year. Colts and Jaguars. The Colts had a good chance to make this game, and I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt that they actually would. But Jacksonville kept it close for a while. They definitely kept it close. Mike Glennon, 261 and 2 touchdowns. Rivers, 164, touchdown and a pick. Jonathan Taylor, 253 and 2 touchdowns. 28-14, the Colts punch their ticket. They do not win the AFC South, but they punch their ticket to the playoffs. They will travel to Buffalo this Saturday at 1 o'clock, if I'm correct. LA, Chargers, and Kansas City. Game meant nothing for Kansas City, so they rested everyone, and they lost. Herbert, 302, 3 touchdowns. Williams, 6 receptions, 108 and a touchdown. Backup quarterback Chad Henne, 218 and 2 touchdowns. The Chargers win 38-21. They fire Anthony Lynn, I believe, yesterday as their head coach. And the Chargers should be a team to watch out for coming next season if they build all of their pieces right. The Rams and Cardinals. Cardinals, I believe Murray got hurt in this game. And I believe the Rams had already clinched a playoff spot, so they didn't really start anybody, if I'm correct. Strevler, whatever his name is, for Arizona, 105, touchdown and a pick, and Wolford, 231 and a pick. The Rams beat the Cardinals 8 to the Seahawks, and we'll see how that goes. Speaking of the Seahawks, they played the San Francisco 49ers. They always play close games, close games. Wilson, 181 and 2 TDs. Lockett, 12 receptions, 90 yards and 2 TDs. Beathard starting for San Francisco, 273 and a touchdown. 26-23, Seattle gets the win. They host the LA Rams Saturday evening in an NFC wildcard matchup. New Orleans and Carolina, again, doesn't mean much. Breeze, 201, 3 touchdowns. Montgomery, 105 yards. Bridgewater, 176 and 2 interceptions. Samuel, 7 receptions, 118 yards. New Orleans pounces Carolina, 33-7. Carolina is going to have to definitely make some moves in the offseason to get their team to be better. The Saints will host the Chicago Bears Sunday in the second game. Going forward, in the final game of the season, it's time to say that. Washington and Philadelphia. This was very simple. The Giants won, so if they wanted to make the playoffs and host what would have been Tampa Bay, they just needed Philadelphia to win. And what did Philadelphia do? They came out and looked like garbage. Alex Smith, 162, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Hurts, 72 yards and an interception. And they put the third-string quarterback in, which made no sense. Washington gets the win 20-14. They clinch the playoffs and the NFC East. They will host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Saturday night. And for what it's worth, ladies and gentlemen, this was your NFL Week 17 review. We will now jump our way into the playoffs. I didn't forget about wrestling. I've been all over the place. But despite all that, ladies and gentlemen, please continue to stay safe.